Hello, my name is Carl Oechsner. I am presently a resident of Croton, involved in local history. Actually, I like to refer to it as backyard history. I was a social studies teacher in the Ossining school system for 40 years, and during that time, I worked with my 7th graders a lot on backyard history. One of the themes that I focused upon was the history of the New York City water supply system, and people always ask me, well, how did you get interested in the water supply system of all topics? And I guess it goes back to my childhood because when I was born and raised in downtown Ossining, my father worked as the baker at the Sing Sing Correctional Facility, then Sing Sing Prison, and we lived right across the street. So I had to walk to school. It was about 4 blocks to my elementary school, and I walked on this kind of dirt pathway. I never knew what it was, and I do remember that there were stones on both sides of this pathway, and that along the path was this stone figure that came out. It was like a monstrous stone structure that came out of the bottom of the path. Never really looked at it, never really noticed it for the most part. So that was the old Croton Aqueduct that actually still runs today through the middle of the village of Ossining. So I think one of the motivating factors was that when I went through the Ossining schools, none of my teachers, again through no fault of their own, ever mentioned the history of the Hudson River Valley. They never mentioned the history of the Hudson River. They never mentioned the history of Sing Sing Prison. They never mentioned Andre and Arnold and West Point, and they certainly never really talked about the water system. So when I graduated from college and went in the United States Army, came back, and got a job as a teacher in Ossining, I think it was kind of my genealogy, it was kind of my background and desire to not only find out more about local history itself, but it was my childhood that kind of started to come out. And so over the last 40 some odd years, now teaching adult education, leading walks on the old Croton Aqueduct, it's one of my favorite topics, and like so many historical topics, I find that the more I research it, the more I understand, begin to see that I don't really know an awful lot, because it's multi-layered. You have amazing characters that have been a part of this, characters and personalities, social issues, architectural history, art history, etc. And today, the old Croton Aqueduct, you can access it at the new Croton Dam, which is in the town of Cortland, kind of tied in with the village of Croton. And you can actually walk the old trailway, which is now on the National Historic Register and also available to the public on a daily basis. You can walk from the Croton Dam all the way into Manhattan, except, I guess, for the High Bridge, which isn't open at the present time. But the most amazing thing for me, as far as the Croton Aqueduct is concerned, is it's a very narrow, linear pathway. It's a New York State park. It's only about 65 to 70 feet wide, so it's very narrow. In our stressful world, especially here around the metropolitan area of New York, and certainly Westchester County, people are under a great amount of stress. Their jobs, their family, the economy, all of those things. And the aqueduct is so easily accessible. It's free, it's open, and it's such a peaceful place to go. In Croton, it's green, and it's quiet, and it's just beautiful. As you go from community to community, starting in Croton, when you get to Ossining, and then you're in Briarcliff, and Scarborough, and then Phillips Manor, and then Sleepy Hollow, and Tarrytown, and then you're in Irvington, Dobbs Ferry, Hastings, Yonkers. In every one of those communities, the aqueduct looks a different way, feels a different way, and exciting for me, people in every one of those communities along the Hudson River, because the aqueduct pretty much follows the bedrock underneath the landscape as you go down along the Hudson River. Every community uses the aqueduct in a little bit of a different way. In Croton, we use it mostly for walking, for biking, horse riding, jogging, and it's peaceful and it's quiet and it's a place to get away for an hour or two. Get away from your stress. Get away from the busyness of your daily life. When you get down into Ossining, you're going through backyards, and people have their wash hanging out, and there's neighborhoods. When you get down to Tarrytown and Irvington and Dobbs Ferry, the history of American architecture in Lower Westchester along the banks of the Hudson River is absolutely amazing. I mean, you have Lyndhurst, Alexander Jackson Davis's magnificent creation made out of Sing Sing marble. It's Gothic revival at its very best. And the aqueduct goes right across its front lawn. And when you get into Dobbs Ferry in Irvington, you have Orson Squire Fowler's Octagon House. Orson Squire Fowler was a phrenologist who believed in studying people by the bumps on their head and the bumps and their brain waves, etc., back in the 1800s. And he also believed that you shouldn't live in a box. You know, like Pete Seeger said, little boxes all in a row, little boxes all in a row. Orson Squire Fowler built a round house. He built an octagonal house, and he said it was healthier to live in a circle. And so there's the Octagon House. And then you have Nevis, Alexander Hamilton and his family, named after the island in the Caribbean. Greek revival architecture at its very best. So the aqueduct in every community serves a different purpose. And every community, people, as I said, use it for different purposes. Kids walk to school in Tarrytown on the aqueduct. People go shopping in the middle of Irvington. They go from one part of the community to another part of the community using the aqueduct. So it has a wide use, a wide variety of interests for people. And the exciting thing is that we now have an organization, the Friends of the Old Croton Aqueduct, that are very active. They have hundreds of members. They have a newsletter. They have a website, and also, if you're interested in my group, my little group here in Croton called Croton Friends of History, if you go to crotonfriendsofhistory.org, we have our own website, and we do have some aqueduct material on there also, and we'll be adding more. So for me, it's been a very unusual experience to learn about it. And I must say, my 7th graders, every year we did 2 trips on the aqueduct. We did a fall trip and a spring trip. And the kids, I still get Facebook, I still get email messages saying, Mr. O, thank you for introducing me to the aqueduct. It was just a wonderful experience.